Orcs Must Die 2 is what I would call a near perfect sequel. It takes what worked well from the first game, adds new types of enemies that challenge how enemies worked in the first, changes how existing traps function to balance them, whilst also adding in new traps that work to combat the new challenges they throw at you. It also adds in my biggest request from Orcs Must Die 1, multiplayer. Some games are fun because you can kick ass alone, but in a game all about destroying a never-ending army of orcs, it's always better to slay together, and doing so with two unique characters that have wildly different abilities and weapons, well, that's just wizard.
Run!
8 out of 10 is my score for the game. Don't call it a comeback, because Orcs Must Die 2 is Orcs Must Die 1, but with better maps, traps, and a new character kick ass with. Is that IGN line? Jesus Christ. It also has a slightly better story, not in how it's told, quite frankly, that remains to be slightly disappointing, but with how it presents the story through its levels. The first half of the game you're fighting in the human world. You're in the mines where the orcs are coming through near constantly, and if you fail to stop the orcs here, then they go out into the wider world. It's a nice twist compared to the copy-paste hallways of the first game, simply because it gives more variety to what you're seeing, and when you return to the Order hallways halfway through, and you're back in the Orc world, it gives a sense of returning to the dynamic of the first game, like you're reclaiming what was lost after the portals close. Of course, the actual story is that the War Mage, the hero from the first game, is still an idiot, but one good at killing orcs, and along with the Sorceress, the baddie from the first game, they have to stop the orcs from trying to kill them and everyone in the human realm as their mentor tries to restore magic back to the world by reopening the rifts. It's a simple sequel story that doesn't really do much outside of a good reason to get back to killing orcs after the first one ended quite definitively. Of course, it creates a massive plot hole, but I'm not here for Oscar-grade storytelling. I'm here to kill orcs, and there are a lot of them. The game is still clearly running off of the first game's basic feel and look to its benefit, but right out of the gate, Orcs Must Die 2 says that it isn't going to be as simple as the first time. Robot Entertainment made the brilliant choice of splitting the generic orc up into 3 tiers of difficulty: the light, medium, and heavy orc, all with different levels of health, colour, and armour. It makes the base orc have more variety than in the first game, and it makes these waves have more diversity in just appearance, but also in how hard it's going to be. Seeing 3 heavy orcs running towards you is a lot more intimidating than 3 light ones, and the differences between the types forces you to switch focus between which ones you're going to fight manually. There are also a lot more enemies in the game. The ogres make a return, as do the gnoll hunters, gnolls, hellbats, shamans, cyclops mages, and all their variants, but also brand new ones like the trolls that can heal and have heavier variants in the swamp and mountain troll. The elemental enemies bringing a whole new level by acting like Marishoshka dolls and splitting into smaller and more numerous enemies. The Earth Lord splitting into the Earth Elemental and then the Earthlings respectively. There are amazing new additions to the Horde roster that force you to play differently, so you're not having to deal with any tiny Earthlings right next to the Rift. As a quick side note, I love how the Elementals look in this game. They look okay in Orcs Must Die 3, but they feel way more generic. The dog-like look of the Elementals in Orcs Must Die 2 really fitted the art style and give it a unique take on what an Elemental should look like. I think the biggest addition to this game, outside of multiplayer, is the improved meta progression with regard to the skulls. There are a multitude of new upgrades for all of the traps, trinkets and weapons that give all wildly different abilities compared to the first, where there was only one. It gives a better sense of replayability and customization, but above that, there are traps and weapons that are locked that you can't get without spending skulls in the first place. It encourages replaying levels and doing bonus modes like the Endless mode to keep getting skulls to get new traps that could better fend off waves of orcs for that perfect score. If you wanted more Orcs Must Die and to play that with your friend, then Orcs Must Die 2 is built specifically for that. It brings over the old maps from the first game as well, so that you can replay them in a classic mode with all of the balances of Orcs Must Die 2, so it truly is the most complete experience for Orcs Must Die. And the crazy thing is, it was only released a year after the first. Crazy, right? Can you imagine that today? Whew. The DLCs once again take the form of new enemies, weapons and traps, and a handful of maps. Of course, they're also added to the optional game modes like Endless and all that for extra replayability, but once again, it's a little underwhelming. For me, the DLC is just nice extras, and the draw is still the main game and the main maps. I've played a lot of Orcs Must Die 2, simply because it was the latest Orcs Must Die game for me for so long. It wouldn't be until 2017 that Robot Entertainment released a new Orcs Must Die game, and it was one that I wouldn't play because it didn't appeal to me at the time, and something that I regret not buying simply to see if I would enjoy it now, despite it being shut down. Yes, I'm teeing up another video about Orcs Must Die Unchained. I want to ramble about what happened there with the whole live service thing for a little bit before going on to review Orcs Must Die 3. I never played it, so I don't know how good or bad it is. So if you did play it, shout at me in the comments over there, quite frankly. If not, and you don't care, I'll, I guess, wait until I review Orcs Must Die 3, I guess. And maybe subscribe in the meantime, please. Thank you.